Hi and welcome to Beyond the Racing Line, the Formula 1 podcast by fans, for fans. In the background you might hear Watsy just pondering. He's a man that likes to think aloud because this episode, or this very short episode, is all about Fantasy F1. That's right folks, it's back for season 2022. And as we speak, I have Watsy on the other side of my computer pondering about his team. And as he continues on with that, I'll just watch him. Yes, all right, he's got focus now.
Yeah.
Hello, Watsy. How are you, mate?
G'day, mate. Hello, everyone.
Exciting
times, hey?
It is exciting times. The season of 2022 is right on our doorstep. We're expecting another sizzling season after probably I think we agreed was one of the best that we've ever seen. And now, Watsy, it's time to think about season 2022 and more importantly, Fantasy F1. How's your team looking at the moment?
I'm pretty happy with it now, actually. It didn't take me too long to do, and it just sort of fit it all together really well.
Excellent. Excellent.
Come together well. Yep.
We'll talk more about your strategy in a minute. We've been doing Fantasy F1 for a couple of years now. Tristan is a bit of a driver in Fantasy F1. He very much enjoys Fantasy F1, but it probably actually stemmed originally, if you remember, way back. I think the podcast was running at this stage. We used to do Formula 1 tipping. Remember that?
Yes.
And so we used to set it up, and it was all about just putting out the information to everybody, and then they would send in their tips, and then I'd calculate depending on.
That was a massive job for you, wasn't it?
It was, and it became quite popular. It became quite popular in the end,
Yes.
and so it became too much with the podcast and everything else, and then Formula 1 finally released this Fantasy F1, and then we've taken off with it from there, and we've had a couple of really great seasons, and then last year we had Chris from Dr. Auto Art jump on board, and prizes were on offer, which I think has sort of spiced it up a whole lot more. I think the competitiveness really started to come alive because we have lots of people talking about getting their hands on Chris's artwork because it is absolutely fantastic.
Definitely.
This year we're really excited that Chris is back on board for season 2022. I think he's back on board in a bigger way, and we're really hoping, we're working on it at the moment, but we're hoping that he might join us for our season or part of our season preview in a couple of days, which will be really exciting because we've spoken online with him, but we haven't really had a proper conversation, so I'm really excited to find out about his process in terms of how he produces all this wonderful art. You probably have better insight into some of that.
I'm going to have some very detailed questions for him so I can get my head around it. I've seen a few of his videos and how he puts a few of the things together when he does those ones. So in my mind, I've got an idea of how it's done, but then there's still so much more like it. The images are so amazing and detailed, and to do it all with stencils and spray cans and I'm going to have lots of detailed questions for him. We might have to chop a bit of me out asking those ones, but he does some amazing work.
I'm always the one involved in this process where I just like what I see. I don't really know how it all comes about, but I am looking forward to hearing the conversation with the artistic you and Tristan talking to Chris and I am looking forward to having a bit of a listen to that. What's for you? What's the benefit of Fantasy F1 throughout the season?
Fantasy, it's great. Like we all love Formula 1, but when you've got your fantasy team sorted, you constantly following some other drivers that are probably lower down the pack, lower down the order, watching them throughout the races instead of our man Dan or your man Lewis and that kind of thing. So you might be keeping an eye on, like George last year, or Kimi or something like me, and Giovinazzi last year was for me. So I was always had an eye on them during the race weekends and that, just to see how they're going and trying to calculate the points in my head without checking them throughout the weekend.
Yep.
And this year, the field, it feels like in general across, like from what we know so far from testing, it's going to be a little bit more squashed together. It's not going to be as stretched out between the front and the back. I'm really excited to see how Williams go, and it's going to be a good one. I reckon.
Yeah. I'm completely with you. It's just about having that vested interest in some other drivers, and then you sack them, and then the vested interest goes to somebody else. So yeah, it's just that little bit of extra. It's just about being a little bit more involved in Formula One, and it doesn't take very long. Some weeks I'll go. Well, lots of weeks I'll go for long stints without changing anyone because I'm very loyal with my team, which I think is the detriment of my Formula One fantasy program. But yeah, it doesn't take a huge amount of time. You do have to still work your way through the clunky app. Formula One app developers, please get on to doing that. I was trying to change my team name on the app for about half an hour earlier and wasn't working. Wasn't even that much better on the computer, but I think the computer is slightly easy to use, but it's still a little bit clunky at times, isn't it?
Yeah. Yep. I'm going through mine still now. I just got to add the the league code and all that, and it's just I'm on a web version of it, not the app version. So
the fact it logs you out.
Think after now.
Yeah. The fact it logs you out so readily is the part that gets me going. But it is once you sort of work out the key details of the app, it's fine to use, and it is really good fun, and it's a great way of having that bit of extra discussion. Plus, we talk about it on the podcast each week, and have a little chat about teams, and we pretend that we're going to help somebody on the bottom. I'm next to certain Tristan was never any help to anybody. But yeah, it's that little bit of extra interest. What's your process in terms of selecting your team? Do you go constructor first? Do you go drivers first?
So I start with the constructors.
Yep.
And generally go. Last couple of years it's been Mercedes and Red Bull. This year I've gone Ferrari.
Ooh.
Little bit cheaper. It's going to open up the bank balance a little bit more to include some more drivers. And then the top driver down through the rest, and just see what fits in with my budget. And if I'm happy with it, it stays. And otherwise, I'll change it around. At the moment, you can change your team, as much as you want, until we get going. So, but I literally done mine then before we got started in about 10 minutes, and I'm really really happy with the way it's came together.
Excellent.
And I think I'm at my max. Like I hit my budget perfectly.
There is the values change of drivers, don't they, throughout the year? Which is sometimes I think they've changed a little slowly in this one, but I'd like to see a little bit more rapid rise and falls sometimes. But
more punishment in the value, I reckon.
Yeah, I reckon.
The values would make it a bit more interesting and more... Like last year, I probably changed mine maybe twice outside of the wild cards that I used and the free shots that we got to use.
Yep.
Like you said, you're pretty loyal with yours. I am as well. So I feel like I've got a good team, and consistency is key in fantasy.
Yep, absolutely.
And I have won it, so I know these things. So when you're on a good thing, you've only just got to make a couple of good strategy changes and get you a right turbo on the right driver at the right time, and it can see you 200 points in the lead over a weekend. Yep. So, yeah.
You've been a little bit more successful. I think Tristan was probably he was the leader of us last year, but you've certainly had more success. I think out of the three of us, I think he did. I think he just pipped me at the post in the end. But yeah, I don't think I've had a really successful year yet. So this year is my year. I'm going to really concentrate on it this year. And
you're due, mate. You're due.
I am. I think so. Once again, like we said, Dr. Auto Art is on board. I think prizes for top 3 from Dr. Auto Art this year, which is going to be really exciting. Chris himself is really keen to get on board because he didn't actually compete in it last year. I think that definitely means Chris is also out of the prizes. I want to talk to Tristan about this business. I want to be involved in the prizes, but maybe not. Maybe I just need to make the purchase and get it sorted that way, because I am very keen to get my podcasting space set up with some of his nice art. So I'll have to get on to doing that. But yeah, it's going to be a really fantastic season again. Anything else to add about Fantasy F1, Watty?
Just be patient with the app. Put in some really, really We had some really good, awesome team
Oh, yeah.
names
The team
last
names
year.
are good, aren't they? They are, yeah.
I went pretty bog standard with mine, so I'm going to probably put a little bit more thought into it this year.
Yep.
It's good for a laugh. We obviously mention the best ones each week for each round.
Yep.
Mention the teams. So there's an honourable mention, I think, and we generally do a 3-2-1, and then we let you guys know where us boys are sitting. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a good chunk of it's a good segment in the podcast. So
Yeah, it's nice to have as many involved as possible, and particularly with this day of Drive to Survive, where we've got so many more fans of Formula One. Lots of people are so much more invested in Formula One these days. So get it to your mates who have jumped on board, and it's another good way to have that conversation and to try and beat your mates in the fantasy world. It's really, really good fun.
Show them how much more about F1 you know than they do.
Yeah, well, assuming I haven't won, surely it's not that great a indication. It's got to be down to luck, surely.
That's true.
Very good. Well, excellent. We look forward to it. What we'll do is we'll put the code. There's no point in
I was going to say, what is the code?
Well, is there any point in me telling the code? Is anyone going to write it down from this episode? Look, I'll do it.
I'm going to write it in right now.
Do it. You let me know.
Give it to me.
The code is 6385.
Oh, I can't now. Sorry. 6385.
B66FAE. And
is it all lowercase, uppercase?
It is all lowercase, yeah. And I apologise for everyone overseas who could not understand a word I just said. But what we'll do is we'll put it in the description of this episode. Yep. We'll also get it onto social media, and we'll push it that way. But like I said, invite your friends along to get involved. There are some wonderful prizes from Dr. Auto Art. If you haven't checked out his stuff before, get over to his Facebook page and check it out. We're going to find out a lot more about him next week, but the prizes are going to be fantastic. So we're looking forward to getting involved and getting the competition started. It'll be wonderful. For everybody else, we are going to be recording our season preview next Monday, I think, or this Monday, just in time for the season starting on this weekend. I can't believe Formula One is on our doorstep again, Watsy.
Oh, so good. I cannot wait.
Yeah, absolutely. We're not going to talk any news or anything just yet. We're going to save it all for that big episode in a couple of days' time so we can get organised for that.
Huge.
It is going to be huge. Until then, thank you very much for listening. Jump on board the Beyond the Racing Line Fantasy F1 group and being involved for all the prizes. Goodbye now.